Hey guys, it's been a week since I last posted. I'm sorry I didn't put up a Sweater Friday. I was sick. Terribly sick, and you don't want the details, and I don't want to tell you. You don't want to know, trust me. Let's just say I was not feeling well at all, and I just never got back to it. And I'm sorry. I will make sure I post a bonus video as an apology. You guys will get extra content. It won't be any informational stuff, it's just fun extra video. In other news, I want to try something a little new with my videos. It seems like in my videos I've just been giving you guys a little hint of the information, just a little dent in the subject. And I haven't really been giving you more than that, and that's not what I want for this project. For this project, I want to learn as much as I'm helping you learn. If you're learning at all. That's what I want. I want to share the knowledge. So, I want to start making the videos a little longer. And I want to start including more information and examples and as much as I can. So, welcome back to Psychology Time. And today, we are starting with children. That's right, children. Little ones. Now, you may not see why we should study children. They don't make a lot of sense all the time. But we have our reasons, we all do. Some vary from wanting to understand how the brain develops, from birth until adulthood, even past that. And some just want to reconnect with who they used to be. Whatever the reason is no less important for studying. So I guess we should start. Children, they teach us a variety of things. A lot more than you think. I'm going to pronounce this name wrong. I'm going to try really hard to pronounce it correctly. We are going to be taking a look at, firstly, Bronfenbrenner's theory. Specifically, Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory of development. That is a long name. So, let's start with who Bronfenbrenner is. It is a man named Urie Bronfenbrenner who developed the theory on development. Now, it's not that simple. His theory of development expands into how our social relationships impact us as individuals. And each system has a different job. So, we should start with the most important system, or I'm going to argue one of the most important systems, and I'll argue that later. The microsystem, which is all your immediate connections. So, family, your siblings and your parents. If you live with your grandparents, if you live with your uncle and aunt. If you just live with your brother. Those are your microsystem. They are the immediate connections. They are the main source of socialization. The next one is the mesosystem, which this one gets a little confusing. And this one confused me at first. It is the pathways between our systems. Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? What he meant by that was, for example, walking to school is a pathway between the microsystem and the exosystem, which I'll get to in a second. So the mesosystem is the connection between them, the pathway. our route to school, my route to the grocery store, stuff like that. I hope that helps. If you are still unclear, you can Google it elsewhere, wherever Google is. Or you can leave me a little comment in the bottom. I'll go into a deeper explanation, but that's what made it all connect for me, was giving examples of the pathways. As I mentioned, the exosystem, which is our outer connections. So, school, and teachers, and friends, and just other peers, strangers, just everyone in our outside immediate, if you get what I'm saying there. As I'm learning, I'm teaching you, so this is a work in progress for us both. We have our immediate connection with our family, the microsystem. Then, mesosystem that connects to our exosystem. Like exoskeleton outside, but still connected. So it's our immediate surroundings. Then we have our fourth, which is the macro system, which is like social customs and cultural beliefs and social conditions, economical factors, that sort of stuff. And that's where his theory ended. It originally stopped at four systems. But he later revised his theory and added in a fifth system, the chrono system. Chrono meaning time. The fifth system doesn't really have a place. It's like a timeline. That's probably exactly what it is. But it's how our microsystem changes, and how our mesosystem changes, and how our exosystem changes, and how our whole world, our whole living changes over time. Our macro system. And it's all influenced by the chrono system. There's diagrams you can find online they give you a nice image. I'm a bit of a visual learner myself, so I like to see the diagram, so it helps me. But I got the diagram up in my head, so that's helping. So yeah, he said that over time, our systems changed. Like, for example, when we are small children, as we are talking about, all the way up to late teens, early 20s, we live with our parents, right? Sometimes people even live with their parents even past that. But let's just go, most people live with their parents until end of high school, and they move out for college or the work or university or wherever they're going. That's when their microsystem changes. That's what the chrono system's all about. I guarantee somebody is just nodding their head telling me to move on, that they got this already. They don't need me to keep explaining. I really wanted to get in depth with this because that's what I want from these videos. That's what I want to give to you guys. So, the point I'm trying to get at is that children are influenced by everything around us. So that means me, you, your cousin, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your parents, your grandparents, everyone you know, your best friend, your ex-best friend. They were all influenced by the people around them that helped shape who they are in some way or another. Or so argued by the nature-nurture debate, which I talked in a past video. So, what are these called? What is it that our family and our friends and our school system, what do they do for us? Well, these are known as agents of socialization. There are primary agents, secondary agents, and tertiary agents. The primary being your family, which is your siblings, and they provide you with basic knowledge like, don't jump on the couch, you will hurt yourself. Careful, the stove is hot. All that sort of stuff. They teach us basic skills. They also teach us how to behave in public. Or at least they're supposed to. Then, the secondary agents, which are our friends and peers, which can have a negative effect on how we socialize. Peer pressure can be a huge issue when it comes to developing. And a lot of people don't think they develop when they're in their teens. They think, you've hit puberty, it's over. It's done, right? It's not. You continue to develop, and you will continue to develop forever. Your tastes, your likes, your friends, your family, they'll all change. It's part of life. It's natural. It's right to change, to develop, to grow. It's scary sometimes. But, so, peers influence how we see the outer world. And another secondary agent is our school system. So our teachers, and our principals, and our guidance counselors, and school counselors, and nurses, everyone. So they give us they do give us another adult figure that we can model ourselves after. I'm sure a couple of you have had a teacher or a professor, somebody you looked up to who you really admired, and you thought to yourself, this is a good person. I want to be more like this person. And you try and become a better person, and you grow as a human being. That's kind of what other human beings are here for. It's great, isn't it? I think it's amazing. It's fascinating that it's not just the people closest to us. It's not just the people we're blood related to, or the people who adopted us, or the people who are our immediate surroundings, who we go home to when the day is done, that impact who we are. That there's so many ways to look at the world through different people's eyes. I love it. I love the concept. I'm getting so excited. Alright, so let's move on to tertiary. So that's the third agent of socialization. That's the media. For the most part, the media is the largest third agent of socialization. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not a big fan of the media. I feel like they push old values on us that I've grown tired of. And that's not just because I'm a bigger girl. That's not even it. It's just I've given up with the media. But that's just me. It still impacts who I am. It will always impact who I am. I'll see what's new. I'll see what's in at the moment. And it might shape my choices in some small way. I'm gonna try not to let it. I don't want to be that person who cares about how the media sees me. Trying. But it's never gonna stop being a part of our lives. All we can do is change whether it destroys us or not. Whether it wrecks our self-esteem, or whether it wrecks the way we see the world and how we see other people. That's our choice. That is within our control. But agent of socialization nonetheless. And the reason why it's the third is because it is the third most impactful. First, second, third. I rambled on about that one. Yeah, the internet is also a huge one. Like, if you don't look at just the media itself, because when you think of media, you think of commercials on TV, or at least that's what comes to my mind. Commercials on TV. Watching The Walking Dead and an advertisement pops up. That's what I think. But the internet itself is a huge, influential idea as a third agent of socialization. It exposes us to new ideas and different ideals and different aspects and way of looking at things. I think it's awesome. I think the internet is a great thing. Of course, who doesn't nowadays? I know I've been talking about socialization a lot, and it seems more like that is more of a sociology topic than it is a psychology topic, but the reason why I went into that is because I'm going into our next area for this lesson. Now, lesson, if you will. And that is, what if we are denied that? What happens to us if we are denied the basic human right of love? Well, there is a name for that. It is called isolated children, or isolates. Now, it is exactly what you're thinking. Isolated, meaning kept away from and left alone. These are children who are not loved, who are sometimes locked away in a dark room or even smaller spaces and left just by themselves. These children do not develop language skills. And these children do not develop physical skills, which is so impactful in their lives. And this is the psychology behind it all. What happens to their brain when they're left alone? When they are not giving any external stimuli whatsoever? Which, if stimuli is a brand new word for you, and it was for me at one point, it's actually a cool word. It's the outside interactions of the world. They're denied that. The brain physically shrinks. I'll let that sink in. The brain physically shrinks. That, if we do not use our brains, they shrink. And they basically shrivel up. And we lose parts of that. So, I didn't get any specific examples for isolated children. I got another example with the next thing I'm going to go into. But for isolated children, a lot of the cases are very similar, and they're all very, very sad and very hard to read and listen to. So, but they're locked away and they're kept from that basic human right to be cared for. Sometimes they are given one person, well, not so much given as that person cares for them, but no one else. They are not shown the outside world. They are not free to explore. They lose the right of free play. To just be a kid. And their behavior is so deeply impacted by this that it actually astounds me. When I first read about this, I could not believe how much it impacts a human being to be left all alone. Even if you don't look at like physical skills and language skills, they will never be the same as if they had the chance to grow up as normal children do. So, what happens? Well, physically, they're not allowed to roam around or play most of the time, so they're not given much space. Their body develops to accommodate the lack of room. So their backs will hunch over, and their legs will not be used to running or walking long distances, so they'll be weaker. And they lose a lot of hand-eye coordination if they're not taught. If they're not given the tools to teach themselves, even. There was a case I read, it's a while ago, so I can't give you too many specifics, but this is what I remember from it. And it was about a young girl, and she was shunned by her family. It was a long time ago, and I think it was because she was born out of wedlock. So she was born when her mother wasn't married, and I guess they were a very religious household, and they shunned her, quite extremely so. And her mother was deaf, but her mother would come to visit her in her small, cramped, dark room. And so the girl developed language skills on a different level than most children. Most children would learn to speak. They would imitate the sounds that their parents make and that other adults make. But since her mother was deaf, she couldn't. So she learned her own form of communication through gestures that her mother taught her. That's how they talked to each other. Pardon me. And when she was found, that was the extent to her language skills. That is unbelievable. Not unbelievable as in I don't actually believe it, but unbelievable as in to let that happen. To let a child grow up without the necessary tools. She doesn't understand social customs. Or have any real... Well, she had her mother for role model, but some children are denied even that. They are kept completely by themselves, void of all contact. It breaks my heart in every way. So, probably think I'm rambling on about this. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to give you another piece of information that is even more astonishing than isolated children and the fact that their brains will shrink if they are not using them to their full potential. There was a study done where in the first few months after birth, if babies are not held, if they are not given any physical contact whatsoever, they can be fed and cared for completely. But if they are never physically touched, they will die. I could not believe it. I thought someone was making this up to mess with me. I had to check a bunch of sources. Babies can die without physical contact of any kind. Being provided with food, any nutrients whatsoever being changed, everything. But no physical contact, and they will not survive. That is huge for the connection between how we develop as people. So it's like psychology, like how we develop as people, and individual makeup, and how it is impacted by the people around us and by society. I could not. Knowing that is just, it's quite the thing. It leaves me speechless, to be frank. But, well, let's go go to somebody who was cared for in a different way. Not by humans. I know. It sounds like something out of a story, out of a book, out of a movie. It sounds made up. But Victor, the Wild Boy, or Victor of Aveyron, was feral. Feral meaning that he had no human characteristics whatsoever. Not that he physically wasn't human. He was as physically human as the rest of us. He was abandoned as a baby in the woods and survived thanks to the wildlife. If memory serves me correct, and I am almost positive it does, he was taken care of by a female wolf. A wolf. It sounds like I'm making it up, right? Well, what it was that the mother, this happens with like kittens and ducklings. I'm sure you've seen a cute little video of it. If a mother cat gives birth, within hours of that, she will adopt other helpless baby animals, no matter what they are. And it happens with like ducklings. Like, I've seen a video myself where a mama cat had babies and she adopted some ducklings as well. It was adorable. So, Victor learned to survive as an animal. He had no human contact whatsoever, but he survived. So the question became, did he have potential for more? Well, hunters in the woods came across him, and after many attempts, they managed to capture him. Yes, they had to capture him. I don't think walking up to him and saying, "Hey, you want to come back to the village with us? We will help you," would have sufficed. So they captured him, and they brought him to his psychologist, who began teaching the boy. He gave him the name Victor, and he was known as Victor the Wild Boy, or Victor of Aveyron. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm not perfect with pronouncing words. I'm sorry. I try my best. But he learned proper etiquette to sit straight and to wear shoes when he walked and wear stuffy buttoned up clothes. He learned all of that, all etiquette, all physical tasks. He learned to identify objects with words. But he fell short on being able to actually form sentences, to being able to use language. He could identify that the word hammer meant the object hammer, but he could not use it. He could say basic words, but he preferred motion instead of using language. Eventually, the psychologist was unsuccessful in managing to teach him language, and that's about where the study goes. So, you're probably still wondering, where is the psychology in this? This is all social stuff. The two overlap more than you think. I'm not saying that they're the exact same thing, because they're not. They're not the same. They're definitely different. But they do share characteristics between the two of them. And that is more so the impact that socialization has on psychology. And the behavior and psychology of people that impacts other psychology and other people. It's great. So looking at all the things I've covered, the way we develop in our brain, it's marvelous to say the least. It's amazing. Children are the start to our development, to who we become. We all started out as children. And it's amazing that to see how different we all develop. How we become as we grow up. It's amazing. I'm going to stop rambling. This video is longer, I know, and that was kind of the intended purpose for this. I'm going to try and cut down slightly. This video is very long. I'm going to try and make it not this long. So, I guess the last thing that I have to update you guys on is what we're doing next week. I'm actually going to tell you. I hope you're excited. We are doing phobias and other psychosomatic conditions. Psychosomatic conditions. I'm glad I said that right the first time. So, phobias is a really cool topic. I find it extremely interesting, and I hope to dive into the topic with you people. Carry on in your weary travels. Have a good night, good morning, good evening, or afternoon. I'll see you next time on Psychology Time.